And to be fair, for those of you who don't actually know, I did see this document. I thought this would be good to quickly go through in this show for people to understand how release clause actually works and how this deal could actually plan out. Because I saw this. You've probably gone through this in one of your streams already, Sava. Because you tend to be on the ball. Why is this not zooming in? Oh, this is a nightmare. I'll read it out for those of you who can't see it fully because it's tiny. It's literally tiny. But it says the scenario, a release clause has been activated by the buying party. The selling party claims the clause is subject to a non-disclosure agreement and wants to block the move. The key legal questions here is, does an NDA override the enforceability of a release clause? That says no, an NDA governs confidentiality, not contractual rights like a release clause. Breaching an NDA may entitle the aggrieved party to damages, but it does not automatically invalidate a validly triggered release clause. Only if the NDA explicitly states that breach voids the release clause, it will potentially have that effect. But this is uncommon and must be clearly drafted. So, go on, Sam.
This is this is it. This is what I think people are forgetting. There's two factors at play here. Whether Spurs knew about the NDA information is in this bucket over here, right? But the contractual agreement for Morgan Gibbs White to be able to leave if the contractual release clause is here is in this bucket over here. So you're right. It's going to be more about damages more than anything. That's why I believe that Forest are probably playing this from an angle of maybe saying to Spurs, right, well, we deserve damages of, I don't know, 5 million. And then it's down to Spurs whether they want to go, all right, we'll give you 65 instead of 60. Because otherwise, what I keep asking everyone this, Jords, and sorry to repeat myself, what's the end game for Forest here? What is it that what are you trying to achieve? You've got a player that doesn't want to be there. I think most of us fans would agree. If I've got a player, any Spurs player that is doing right now what Morgan Gibbs White has agreed terms and wants a medical somewhere else, see you later. I don't want you at Tottenham now. See you later. No hard feelings. You want to move on your career. So what is it that what are Forest trying to win here? Is it just that they want to win a legal battle and get a little bit of extra money? So I think the two things have to be treated very differently here.
And that's exactly it. You asked a great question there. What is the angle? And I'd love to know from Forest fans, because when I look at this, I'm like, Marinakis has just had probably a great week. I'd think on his side of things, I would have thought it'd been a very successful week.
Yeah.
They've been promoted to the Europa League. They've sold Elanga. They sold Morgan Gibbs White, and they brought in £115 million for two of their best players.
Yeah.
A lot of money that could definitely be used. And some may argue you can reinvest that and get better players. Because Morgan Gibbs White and Elanga aren't the best of the best. They're not the creme de la creme. There's players out there in football that are very similar to those that can give you a very similar quality for probably a cheaper price. Just need to get down to scouting. So I would argue that Nottingham Forest had a great week up until then. And now they're just sitting here and they're like trying to figure out what's happening with this Morgan Gibbs White deal. But again, just to read a bit further here, it does say that the question is, can the selling party block the move due to a suspected NDA breach? It says they're not by default. To block the move, the seller must show the NDA makes confidentiality condition precedent to the clause being valid. The breach is either serious enough to affect the clause's validity, or the NDA provides for injunctive relief or suspension of rights if breached. If these are not proven, the seller's remedy is likely damages, not blocking the transaction. So basically what it's stating there that Spurs may, on a bad side of this, is, and I probably think that this will end up being the way it plans out, Spurs going to have to pay an extra 5, maybe 6 million into the deal, maybe, and then they'll probably agree with Forest that the fee is going to be paid across a certain amount of years rather than paying it all up front like a normal release clause. That's what's probably going to happen. But just to continue and finish up, it says who must prove the breach and what happens. The burden of proof is on the selling party. They must show both the breach and the contractual consequence of that breach. The courts will not block a move unless the breach clearly invalidates the clause under contract terms. So the summary of it all is validity triggered release clause is generally binding. NDA breaches do not override enforceability unless explicitly stated in the contract. The selling party can only block the move if they can prove a contractual right to do so based on the NDA breach. Otherwise, their remedy lies in a separate claim for damages. So ultimately, it's just a case of they're going to have to rely on just getting a couple extra million from Spurs. That's all they could do from this deal. And they're going to delay the move, make a player unhappy just to get an extra 4 or 5 million out of this.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is whether or not the deal can get done, i.e. the player can join, but then the legal wranglings go on in the background as to what the damages will be, or whether or not the player can't move until any sort of damages are dealt with. And that's assuming, by the way, that we're found guilty and needing to pay any form of damages, right? I mean, because if they do find us guilty of that, this is going to set a really interesting precedence, Jords, for all transfers moving forwards. And now what it's going to mean is every time someone doesn't like a transfer, they're going to find some sort of loophole of, oh, they did this, they talked to him, they did that. For me, I think that this is going to need for Morgan Gibbs White to go into Forest and go, I don't want to go down the legal route, but you are breaking your contractual obligations with me that I'm allowed to leave for Tottenham Hotspur. And at that point, Forest say, yep, you're right. Sorry, see you later. Best wishes. Or go on then. Go on, get your legal team involved. And now we've got a saga that could drag on and on and on and on. And I don't know, man. All I've said is, Jords, I just want this sorted by the time we go to South Korea.
Yeah.
Right?
Just want to have Morgan right on the plane. Yeah.
Yeah. I want him there. And that's what we all thought we were getting last week. We all thought we were, oh my God, Kudus and Gibbs White are going to be on the plane. It's going to get boring, but I'm sure there's going to be more and more drip-fed information that, as YouTubers, we will of course pounce on and
we're going to pounce on every single time.
Yeah.
Every single day. Make sure you guys are subscribing, showing your support. Football Heritage TV. Name is in the title and in the description. Live. Sub is live twice a day, every day, but if not twice or 3 times a day, people. So you literally can't miss
2 lives in one video. 2 lives in one video. That's the formula.
At least 2 lives on one video. And myself, I'd say live every day, or if not a video every day, but definitely content coming out every day. So make sure you're showing your support. Real close to 3 clear as well as people. Like literally final 99, 98, something like that. So if you're in here and you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed for one so you can chat, because if you want to chat, you got to subscribe now. You know, that's where we're at. We're moving up levels, subscribers only. And but more than anything, let's just support each other. Let's help each other get to the goal. Shout out to Perchy, who's in the building, coming up in the chat. He says, Spurs and Forest have come to an agreement on MGW. Both teams have agreed a 2-legged friendly where the winning team will sign Morgan Gibbs White. Dates to be confirmed. The second leg will be at the City ground. That's how you see Spurs doing the deal. I mean,
we'd lose. You know, we'd lose, wouldn't we? We'd lose the second leg, like with a VAR decision or something, and he'd stay there. You know it.